Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you today, your future is not behind you. Your future is ahead of you. God didn't bring you this far just to leave you. He has more in store, but to step into that destiny, we've got to let go of some things, strengthen others, and make room for the growth that's coming. There are 12 things we must improve if we want to live the kind of fulfilled, purpose-driven life we were created for. Today, I want to walk with you through 6 of those keys. Each one a step toward the future you've dreamed of, prayed for, and hoped would come. Let me tell you something today that might just shift the trajectory of your life. The most powerful thing you have is not the number in your bank account, not the title on your business card, not even the people you know or the networks you belong to. It's your mindset. That quiet voice in your head, the one that speaks when no one else is around, that voice determines how far you go in life. You may not be able to control every circumstance, but you can control how you think about it. That's the real battlefield. That's where the miracles begin. The scripture tells us in Proverbs 23:7, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That means who you are on the inside. What you believe about yourself, what you say to yourself, how you interpret the world. That's who you really are. You can wear the finest clothes, drive the nicest car, smile in all your pictures, but if your mind is filled with doubt, with fear, with I'm not good enough or nothing ever works out for me, then you're placing a ceiling on your own life. Not because you're not talented, not because you're not capable, but because you believed the lie that you weren't. That mindset, that small seed of thought can grow into a tree of blessing or a tree of bitterness. It can either open doors or lock them shut. If you start your day thinking, this is going to be hard, I'm probably going to fail, then don't be surprised when things fall apart. Your mindset creates a magnetic field around your life. If you expect failure, you draw it in. If you expect failure, you make room for it. But what if you woke up every morning and instead of repeating the past, you declared the future? What if before you even got out of bed, you whispered to yourself, something good is about to happen to me? You might say, but I've been disappointed so many times. I understand life can be unfair. People can hurt us. Opportunities can slip away. But if you carry those disappointments into each new day, you're letting yesterday rob you of tomorrow. You're letting what was cancel out what could be. That's why it's not just about positive thinking. It's about renewing your mind. It's about choosing daily to align your thoughts with possibility, with hope, with victory. And when you do, doors start to open. Favor starts to find you. Strength begins to rise. Because you're not walking into the world defeated. You're walking in like you're already victorious. I think about Thomas, a young man who could have easily let his surroundings dictate his destiny. He grew up in a neighborhood where dreams didn't come true. College wasn't even a conversation. Most people he knew worked multiple jobs just to make ends meet. But something inside Thomas told him, there's more for me. And every morning, before he brushed his teeth, before he put on his shoes, he looked at his bathroom mirror and saw 3 words he had written with a dry erase marker, why not me? Not in arrogance, not in pride, but in faith, in belief, in mindset. See, Thomas didn't wait for someone to come rescue him. He rescued himself by changing how he thought. When people told him, you don't belong here, he reminded himself, why not me? When he applied for scholarships and heard nothing back, he didn't give up. He said, why not me? And when he finally got that acceptance letter and later that job offer and then the opportunity to start his own company, he didn't act surprised because he had already seen it in his mind. Today, Thomas is the CEO of a company that mentors young people in the very neighborhood he grew up in. He didn't just change his life, he's changing generations. All because of 3 little words that came from one powerful place. His mindset. And if he can do it, you can do it. You may be surrounded by negativity, but that doesn't mean it has to live in you. You may have made mistakes, but that doesn't mean you're disqualified. Your past doesn't determine your potential, your thinking does. Your beliefs are the blueprint of your life. If you can shift what you believe, you can shift where you're headed. Maybe you've told yourself for years, I'm just not that smart, or I'll never get out of debt, or I don't have the right connections. Friend, that's not your destiny talking. That's fear. That's failure speaking in disguise. You've got to silence those lies and start declaring truth. Start saying, I am equipped. I am chosen. I am enough. I am more than a conqueror. And don't just say it once. Say it every day until you believe it. Say it until it becomes louder than your fear, louder than your doubt, louder than the opinions of others. You might not see change right away. That's okay. Seeds don't grow overnight. But if you keep watering your mind with faith, keep planting words of victory, keep removing weeds of negativity, before long, you'll see the fruit. You'll walk into rooms you never imagined. You'll meet people who open new doors. You'll step into the kind of life you once only dreamed about. The enemy knows that if he can control your mind, he can control your life. That's why he fights you hardest in your thoughts. He doesn't have to take your finances if he can steal your hope. He doesn't have to ruin your relationships if he can convince you you're unworthy of love. But when you take back your mind, when you say, I will not live another day believing lies, that's when chains start breaking. That's when strongholds start falling. That's when transformation begins. So let me ask you, what are you speaking over your life? What are you rehearsing in your thoughts? Are you aligning with defeat, or are you preparing for destiny? Because your future is not waiting on someone else to believe in you. It's waiting on you to believe in you. You are not here by accident. You were created with purpose, with vision, with greatness in your bones. But to walk in it, you've got to see it. You've got to believe it. You've got to declare it again and again until your mindset no longer reflects your environment, but reflects your destiny. Because when your thinking changes, your world changes. Your future changes. Let me tell you something that could change the direction of your life. Improving your circle is one of the most powerful decisions you will ever make. Who you spend time with matters. Who you listen to, laugh with, share your dreams with, it all matters. You might not even realize it, but your environment is either feeding your destiny or draining it. Your circle is either pulling you higher or quietly holding you back. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. Some people are wondering why they feel stuck, why they're not seeing progress, why the dream feels distant. Could it be that you're trying to run a race with people who are content standing still? Could it be that you're carrying weights God never asked you to carry? You're climbing a mountain, but you're tied to folks who have set up camp in the valley. You're trying to soar, but you're surrounded by people who are clipping your wings. Listen, not everyone in your life is meant to go with you to the next level, and that's not being unkind, it's being faithful to your purpose. There are people in your life who were only meant to be there for a season, but you're trying to make them a lifetime commitment. Some relationships are scaffolding. They're there to help you during a stage of your building, but once the structure is strong, the scaffolding comes down. That doesn't mean the people are bad. It just means their purpose in your story has been fulfilled. And when you try to hold on to what God is trying to move you away from, you delay your own progress. Think of Sarah. She had this big dream bubbling in her heart, a dream to start a bakery. She saw the colors, smelled the pastries, felt the joy of serving her community. But every time she shared her heart, her closest friends would shut it down. You're not business-minded. What if you fail? Don't get your hopes up. They weren't trying to be cruel, but they were speaking from their own limitations. And if you're not careful, you'll let someone else's fear become your ceiling. You'll let their doubt define your boundaries. But Sarah made a bold decision. She didn't have to make a big announcement, didn't cut people off dramatically. She simply started spending less time with people who fed her fear and more time with people who fueled her faith. She joined a women's entrepreneurial group. She surrounded herself with people who weren't intimidated by her dream. People who said, you've got something special. Let's figure this out together. We believe in you. And guess what? Sarah now owns 3 thriving bakeries. She's living her dream because she dared to improve her circle. Let me ask you, who's speaking into your life? Are they planting seeds of confidence or seeds of doubt? Are they pulling you closer to your purpose? Or are they keeping you tied to your past? You weren't created to shrink back. You weren't built for average. You are made for more. But you won't step into that more until you start walking with people who see it too. Some of you have dreams that have been buried under years of discouragement. You shared that dream with the wrong people and they told you to stay safe, stay small, stay predictable. And you listened, not because you didn't believe, but because you trusted their voice more than your own. But I believe something is rising in you again. The dream is not dead, it's just been dormant. And maybe, just maybe, God is nudging you today to change your circle so your dream can breathe again. This doesn't mean you love people any less. It means you love your future enough to protect it. It means you're choosing growth over comfort. It means you're brave enough to step away from familiar voices in order to hear the one voice that matters most, the voice of your calling. Sometimes that means walking alone for a season. But don't be discouraged, because when you make room, the right people will come, the ones who see your worth, the ones who recognize your gifts, the ones who celebrate your wins and speak life into your dry seasons. It's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to outgrow conversations that only revolve around gossip, fear, or regret. You're evolving. You're becoming. And becoming requires a new atmosphere, a new rhythm, a new circle. You need people who challenge you to rise, not people who are threatened when you do. People who clap when you succeed, not criticize when you shine. People who remind you who you are when life makes you forget. There are people in your future who are praying for someone like you to show up. But you've got to first become the person who's ready to meet them. You can't bring your future into your present if your present is built on relationships that only reflect your past. And listen, sometimes that inner circle includes just you and God for a while. That's okay. You plus purpose is still the majority. Don't despise the quiet seasons. That's where the growth happens. That's where clarity's born. That's where your roots go deep, so that when the right people come, and they will, you're ready. You're not looking to be completed. You're looking to be sharpened, encouraged, elevated. You're not too much for the right people. You're not too ambitious. You're not dreaming too big. You're exactly the right size for the calling God placed inside you. But now it's your job to get around people who remind you of that when life gets loud, who push you to keep going when fear tells you to turn back, who speak destiny when discouragement tries to drown it out. This is your season to rise. This is your moment to look around and say, I love you, but I've got to grow. I appreciate you, but I've got to go where the grace is flowing. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing peace, growth, and purpose. You're not being arrogant, you're being obedient. You're not cutting people out, you're making room for what's coming next. So don't be afraid to adjust your circle. It might be uncomfortable at first, you might feel a little lonely, but that's the price of elevation. That's the path to transformation. And when you look back, you'll realize that every time you chose to align yourself with faith over fear, belief over doubt, purpose over popularity, you were stepping closer to the life you were always meant to live. Surround yourself with people who stir up your faith, not your fear. Because when your circle changes, your life will too. You can't get time back. Once it's gone, it's gone. Time is the one thing we all have in equal measure. Rich or poor, young or old, no one gets more than 24 hours in a day. And every one of those hours is a treasure, a gift from above, wrapped in golden ribbons of potential. But here's the thing, just because we have time doesn't mean we're using it wisely. So often we let it slip through our fingers like sand, not because we don't care, but because we've gotten used to surviving each day instead of stewarding it. Let me ask you something. Are you giving your best time to your phone or to your future? Are you investing the first and finest parts of your day into your dreams, your calling, your growth? Or are you giving that time away to things that drain you, things that distract you, things that have nothing to do with your destiny? I'm not saying you have to overhaul your life overnight. Don't feel like you have to climb the whole mountain today. It starts with one small step, one small change. Maybe it's waking up just 30 minutes earlier than you usually do. Maybe it's taking that first half hour of your day to center yourself, to read, to pray, to plan, to speak life over your goals before the noise of the world creeps in. Maybe it's choosing just once a day to turn off the notifications, to silence the scroll, and to tune in to the quiet whisper inside that says, you were made for more. What could happen if you replaced 1 hour of aimless scrolling with 1 hour of learning, of building, of preparing for what's coming? That 1 hour could be the difference between where you are and where you want to be. You see, we often think success is about talent or luck or being in the right place at the right time. But I believe success starts in how we manage the minutes. Because the truth is, our future isn't found in some far-off someday. It's hiding in our daily schedule. It's not always wrapped in grand moments or loud applause. It's tucked inside the quiet disciplines of the everyday. The early morning decision, the late night sacrifice. The moment you choose to work when it's easier to rest. Think about this. The average American spends nearly 2.5 hours a day on social media. That's over 900 hours a year. What could you do with 900 hours? That's enough time to get a college degree, to launch a side business, to write a book that's been sitting in your heart for years. That's enough time to change your life, to shift the trajectory of your family, to break generational cycles and build something lasting. But time doesn't wait. It doesn't pause until we're ready. Every moment we waste is a moment we never get back. I'm not saying this to make you feel guilty. I'm saying this because your life is worth more than endless distractions. You were created with a purpose, too big to be buried under endless reels and trending topics. And maybe you're thinking, but I've already wasted so much time. Let me tell you, it's never too late to redeem what remains. You might not be able to go back and fix yesterday, but you can decide what today becomes. And if you give your time to something meaningful, something eternal, you will begin to see doors open that you didn't even know existed. Opportunities will find their way to you. Why? Because intentionality attracts blessing. There's a reason the enemy doesn't always try to destroy your life. Sometimes he just tries to distract you from it. Because if he can keep you busy, if he can keep you running in circles, chasing things that don't matter, then you'll never step into the fullness of what you were created for. That's why time management isn't just a productivity issue, it's a spiritual one. When you guard your time, you guard your calling. So let me encourage you, don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until the stars align, until you feel ready, until it's New Year's Eve. Start where you are, with what you have. Do one thing today that your future self will thank you for. It could be as small as writing down your goals, setting a 10-minute timer to focus, or turning off the TV to read a chapter of a book that challenges you. And as you begin to manage your time with intention, watch how your energy changes. Watch how your perspective shifts. Watch how confidence starts to rise in your spirit. You'll begin to walk with a sense of purpose, not because your circumstances are perfect, but because you're no longer wasting your moments. You're building something with them. Some of you have big dreams. You want to start a ministry, a business, a movement. You want to break free from debt, raise your children differently, leave a legacy. And that's beautiful, but those dreams require discipline. They require time. And if you're always giving your best time away to things that don't feed your future, your dreams. So take a step, set boundaries, choose wisely. Don't let someone else's urgency become your emergency. Not every notification deserves your attention. Not every call is worth answering. Your time is your life, and it's okay to protect it like treasure, because that's what it is. Use Sunday evenings to plan your week instead of dreading it. Create space for what matters. When you put first things first, everything else begins to align. You stop reacting and you start leading. You stop surviving and you start thriving. And most of all, you start feeling the joy of walking in sync with your calling. Because here's the truth. Your schedule isn't just about what you do. It's about who you're becoming. So ask yourself, are your habits leading you toward the life you want? Or are they pulling you further away from it? The time is now. The clock is ticking, but so is your purpose. Choose to use your time like it matters, because it does. Your destiny is waiting. Make room for it. You can't fulfill your calling if you're always running on empty. We weren't created to drag ourselves through life, exhausted, worn out, and barely making it. You were designed to thrive, to rise up strong, to chase after your God-given purpose with passion, with clarity, and with strength. And that starts with how you treat the vessel that carries you, your body. Your body is not a burden. It's not just something you put up with or try to ignore, the gift. A vehicle for your destiny. And if we don't take care of it, we risk missing out on the very thing we were born to do. Some people will say, I'm too busy to focus on my health. I've got kids, a job, responsibilities, dreams to chase. But what happens when your health breaks down? When you can't get out of bed? When you're too tired to think straight? Suddenly all those dreams are put on hold. That's why we can't separate health from purpose. They go hand in hand. If you want to go the distance, if you want to climb that mountain, finish that book, start that business, or raise that family, then you need your health. Not perfect health, but better health. And I get it. We all have things to do. We've all got a list a mile long. But the truth is, making small choices today can make a big difference tomorrow. I'm not saying you need to run a marathon next week. I'm not saying give up everything you love overnight. I'm saying start where you are. Start with one better choice. Maybe it's going for a walk after dinner. Maybe it's drinking water instead of soda. Maybe it's setting your alarm 15 minutes earlier so you can stretch, breathe, and center yourself before the day begins. Those little changes add up, and they build momentum. I remember a man who came up to me after service one Sunday. He looked tired. He looked like life had weighed heavy on him. He said, I thought my dream was dead. I was too tired, too sick, too discouraged. I didn't have the energy to do what I knew I was called to do. But then something shifted. He said, I just started walking every day. Not far, just around the block. I started making better choices, not perfect ones, but better. I cut out the junk, started eating a little cleaner, and I began praying every morning before I did anything else. 6 months later, I felt like a different person. And now I'm writing a book I thought I'd never finish. Friends, sometimes all it takes is one small step, just one act of saying, I'm worth taking care of. My future is worth protecting. Because your body isn't just flesh and bone, it's the foundation of everything you're meant to do. And when you feel better physically, it's amazing how everything else begins to fall into place. Your mind gets clearer. Your emotions settle. Your creativity returns. You stop surviving and you start living again. Don't believe the lie that it's too late. Don't let the enemy convince you that because you've made some poor choices in the past, you don't get a fresh start. God's mercy is new every morning. That means every day you get a chance to begin again, to make one better decision than you did the day before. Maybe you've been neglecting your health for years. That's okay. Start today. Take one step, then another. You're not going to turn it all around overnight, but you don't have to. You just have to move in the right direction. The grace will meet you there. Sometimes it's not even about food or exercise. Sometimes it's about stress, about rest. Some of us need to hear this. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to unplug. You are allowed to say no to the chaos and yes to peace. Jesus himself withdrew to quiet places. He rested, he prayed. If the Son of God took time to care for his physical and emotional needs, then so should we. Rest is not laziness, it's wisdom. When you honor your body, you honor the one who gave it to you. And something powerful happens when you begin to treat yourself with the same care, compassion, and respect that you offer to others. Your energy returns, your focus sharpens, your heart grows lighter. You stop running on empty and start running on purpose. There's a fire inside you, a vision, a calling, but it's hard to chase that fire when your body is barely holding on. And that's why it matters how you treat yourself, not just spiritually, not just emotionally, but physically, because God wants you to go the distance. He wants you to finish strong, and he's given you a body that can carry you there, but only if you steward it well. Maybe you've been pushing and pushing, running on caffeine and stress, thinking you can't afford to slow down. But what if slowing down is exactly what you need? What if 5 minutes of stillness in the morning could change your entire day? What if saying no to that third meeting or getting to bed an hour earlier or choosing something fresh over something fried? What if that one small act of self-care unlocks the energy you need to pursue your destiny with fresh fire? I want to speak to the one who's tired, to the one who's sick and doesn't see a way forward, to the one who's lost hope. You're not alone. You're not forgotten, and your story is not over. There's still time. There's still healing. There's still strength available for you. But it begins with you believing that you matter enough to take care of, that your calling is worth protecting, that your future is worth fighting for. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. Willing to start, willing to try, willing to believe that better is possible, because it is. And once you begin to move in that direction, once you start treating your health like it matters, you'll find that the dreams you thought were dead aren't dead at all. They were just waiting for you to rise up strong enough to carry them. So choose today to honor your body, to fuel your future, to walk in wisdom, and to believe with everything in you that the best is still ahead, because it is, and you're going to need your strength to get there. Let's talk about something that doesn't always come easy, emotional discipline. It's not flashy, it's not loud, it doesn't always get the spotlight, but emotional discipline is one of the greatest strengths you can ever develop, because the truth is, we don't always feel like doing what's right. We don't always feel like being kind, patient, forgiving, hopeful, or faithful. Sometimes we feel like snapping back. Sometimes we feel like shutting down. Sometimes we want to quit, to walk away, to let the storm inside us decide the outcome. But friend, feelings are not facts. They're not permanent. Feelings are like weather. They come and go. They blow in and blow out. You can't stop them from showing up, but you can decide how you'll deal with them. Feelings are visitors, not decision makers. You wouldn't hand the keys of your life over to a stranger passing through, would you? So don't give that power to a feeling. Don't let anger, frustration, fear, or anxiety sit in the driver's seat of your day. That's why emotional discipline is so powerful. When you learn to respond instead of react, you take your power back. You stop being a puppet pulled by the strings of emotion and start being a person of wisdom, character, and vision. Because reacting is easy. Anybody can lash out. Anybody can storm off. But it takes real strength to pause, to breathe, and to choose your response. Emotional discipline is like a muscle. It doesn't grow unless you train it. Every time you choose peace over panic, kindness over bitterness, patience over impulse, you are making that muscle stronger. And the stronger it gets, the more powerful your life becomes. You start navigating situations with grace. You stop losing sleep over things that used to keep you up all night. You begin to walk through the fire without getting burned, because the fire may be around you, but it's no longer in you. Think about the story of Jesus on the boat during the storm. The waves were crashing, the wind was howling, and the disciples were in full panic mode. But what was Jesus doing? He was sleeping, resting, at peace. Not because there was no storm, but because the storm didn't own him. And here's the good news. That same peace lives in you. That same calm, that same steadiness, that same inner anchor, it's already inside you. You just have to learn how to access it. That's what emotional discipline does. It teaches you how to tap into that peace, how to remain calm when everything else is chaos, how to stay grounded when the world is shaking. You don't have to be a prisoner of mood swings and meltdowns. You don't have to let one bad moment ruin your whole day, or one hurtful word ruin a good relationship. You have the power to choose peace. You have the strength to walk away from the argument, to forgive the offense, to believe for better, even when you don't feel it yet. And don't think for a moment that this is just about feeling better. Emotional discipline changes your entire life. Research shows that people who practice emotional regulation are 4 times more successful in their careers, in their relationships, in their finances, and in their overall well-being. Why? Because they don't just go with the wind, they sail with direction. They don't let the storm steer their ship. They set their course and stay on it. They show up consistently, love unconditionally, and lead with integrity. When you live this way, people notice. They see something different in you. They may not be able to put it into words, but they feel it. It's the peace that doesn't make sense. It's the confidence that isn't shaken. It's the joy that shows up even on hard days. That kind of life is magnetic. It inspires others. It opens doors. It shifts atmospheres. Because emotional discipline isn't weakness. It's strength under control. But you've got to be intentional. You don't drift into emotional discipline. You decide your way into it. You train for it. You make it a daily practice. You check in with yourself. You speak truth over your feelings. You ask, is this emotion leading me to peace or pulling me away from it? And if it's pulling you away, you stop and recalibrate. You don't beat yourself up. You just adjust your sails. It may not happen overnight, but every small step counts. Every time you pause instead of pounce. Every time you breathe instead of break down. Every time you choose a higher road, you are becoming stronger, more centered, more unshakable. You are building the kind of life that stands the test of time. A life of depth, purpose, and peace. Some of you have been living on emotional roller coasters for too long. You wake up hopeful, and by lunchtime, you're discouraged. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you're in a bad mood for hours. A single email ruins your whole evening.